Alrighty folks, I'm going to try to make this a quick video. I was reading through one of the medical papers, articles that I have found. It's the BMJ case report, and it's about toxicity of the wild lettuces, the lactusa species. And it's talking about things in which it gives the history and how in different countries where the plant grows, it's used for different things. Now here I'm just going to read what it says. The whole plant is rich in milky juice that flows freely when it is scratched. The juice has a bitter taste and a noxious odor. When dried, it hardens, turns brown, and is known as lactucarium. The varosa has been found to contain lactucic acid, lactucopicrin, which is amorphous, 50 to 60% lactucerin, and lactucin. Lactucerin is the main component of the lactucarium, which is a neutral insoluble material. Lactucarium is a diuretic, a laxative, and a sedative agent, which relieves dyspnea and decreases gastrointestinal inflammation and uterus contractions. That's where it helps with stomach upset and hormonal menstrual issues. It has anticonvulsant and hypnotic effects as well. In addition, the lettuce contains traces of hyoscyamine, which is probably responsible for its sedative effects. This hyoscyamine is what they give you if you have irritable bowel or chronic digestive issues, because it relieves spasms in your digestive tract. Before the Victorian period, wild lettuce was known as a painkiller and sedative. In the 19th century, wild lettuce, especially a desiccated lactescent juice lactucarium, was used as a sedative and analgesic. It was used in kidney disorders, for ameliorating painful uterine contractures, and for generalized edema and icterus due to its diuretic effect. So that means that it helps us to pee, and so it's a diuretic. And so the things that are contributed, illnesses and sicknesses contributed to retention of fluid, this plant helps. In the catalog of medicinal plants published in 1917, the Serval Company asserted that wild lettuce was highly esteemed to quiet coughing and allay nervous irritation, a good safe remedy to produce sleep, to be used when opium and other narcotics are objectionable. This was written at a time when opium and cocaine could still be obtained over the counter. Lactucarium is not easily made into powder and is only slightly soluble in boiling water, though it softens and becomes plastic. Powdered components of the herb have been used for external use and is still used for making a lotion for the skin to relieve sunburn and roughness. Its boiled form is used as an enema for intestinal irritations. Now, it goes on to give some case presentations where people presented with toxic effects from the plant. Okay, there were hikers that were had only eaten the lettuce opium and had eaten a large deal of it because that was their only food. They had not had a good amount of water to balance out that intake of chemicals, so they had a moderate toxic effect. Now, once they were hospitalized and put on fluids and the usual treatment, they were fine and there were no long-term effects. Now, this was people who ate a high amount of the plant, and that was all they had. They had nothing else to eat. So there probably was stuff around to eat, but they didn't know it. So these are extreme cases for toxicity. Now, there has also been an uptake with this false war on drugs that we have, where people who tend to want to use drugs or have addiction issues, and I'm not talking about people who have legitimate medical issues, but they will use anything. They will huff spray paint. They will, there's always been that element. Well, apparently some young intravenous drug users injected it into their veins. Now, first of all, venal injections are very risky, even if you know what you're doing, and even with a medicine that you know how to use. It's just that simple. There are millions of things that can go wrong with that. But these were young people that were drug addicts that wanted to try something to get a different high. Okay, it said that they presented with fever, chills, abdominal pain, low back pain, neck stiffness, headache, leukocytosis, and moderate liver function disorders, all recovered in 3 days. So again, we're hearing that even when people really try to abuse this drug, there's still not a long-term effect from it. Now, it says here, the milk-like extract and the leaves are the useful components of the herb and act as spasmolytic and a sedative. The seed's oil is effective in arteriosclerosis. Hey, another thing found out. Some of its side effects and toxicity resulting from the overdoses, and it gives a list here of things that if you overdose from it, it says we observe most of these signs and symptoms in our patients. The severity of the toxicity was dose dependent according to the history taken from the patients. Okay, again, these are people who abused it, who did not use it correctly. And there is medical backing for the things that most of us who are learning about the wild lettuce already know. Now, I'm going to tell you folks, and y'all have gathered this, I'm sure, through my videos. I have ate as much as 3 to 4 cups of the green leaves in a single day's time frame, raw, uncooked, utilizing them on salads, sandwiches, salads, and such, making teas and such. So, at no time in these 2 years that I've been using this plant have I ever had any kind of toxic reaction. Everything has been completely beneficial to me. So, as with anything, though, I do want to caution you, if you take medicine for something else, if you're just starting to use the plant, start slow, go slow, build it up in increments to see what your reaction is, because there's a couple of different issues here. There is what's called paradoxical effect. Paradoxical effect is when, for the general population, a chemical acts a certain way, but for a very small few, it acts in an opposite way. For example, Benadryl, diphenhydramine, is a sleep agent. It makes most of the people that take it drowsy, sleepy. However, there are a few people that it actually makes them overly alert and keeps them awake. There are many variations like that. So that goes toward your biochemistry that is in your body. It also goes to speak to how much body fat you carry, how much muscle tone you carry. There are many different factors. The reason why I tend to jump into these plants wholeheartedly, feet first, don't care, is because I've been on so many medications in my lifetime. I have had horrific effects from quite a few of them. And here we have plants that God gives us to use. So what am I going to do? What choice do I make? And luckily for me, I am a mature woman. I've lived a very colorful life and experienced a lot of different things. I've got nothing to lose. And so when I've taken those chances, I have found that my chances and my instinct were better than what doctors could provide. And so that has been my return to plant medicine. It has been my return to an original way of life. One more thing I want to touch on while I'm talking about this, and we're going to have several of these chemical scientific discussions, but one of the other reasons why I believe strongly about eating a plant raw by chewing it in your mouth, not doing it any other way, is because there's an amylase function to your saliva. When you start chewing something, the chemicals in your saliva start mixing with the chemicals in whatever it is you're eating. It's to help with your digestive process, but it also is what causes the absorption of our nutrients. And I know I'm not speaking in correct science vernacular. I'm speaking like a real person who has experienced this stuff and is self-learning. So I have found that when I'm chewing these plants and I'm rolling it in my mouth and then I swallow it, and then the process that follows, that is actually what we should have been doing all along. Not swallowing pills. So I'm giving you this little bit of information. I'm uploading videos pretty much every couple of minutes, it seems like, because I'm well rested. I'm going to do a short video on this in a minute. The canadensis concentrate was excellent. I slept wonderfully. So, until my next video, which will be on the canadensis concentrate, have a good day, and God bless you all.